Hello there, Mexi. My name is John, and I have a message that I would like to convey to Mr. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario. For the past few weeks, Omicron has been extremely widespread throughout our communities, which led the overwhelming ICU numbers as well as hospitalizations. Surely this has led a lot of people into panic mode and the danger of transmitting COVID to those who are in risk group is definitely something we should consider all the time. I wanted to tell you clearly that however the approach you're taking is not the appropriate method to battle this pandemic. I can see you primarily driven by fear, which is normal for every human being. And for a leader, for even a leader to be driven by fear, it is perfectly normal. There should be no assumption that a government's leader should act differently. Like, I'm talking about not in a human way. We all have emotions, and we're all driven by emotions. But I'm telling you, the academic support that a lot of students need, especially those who are in special needs, as well as those who don't have the necessary environment set up at home to study for their exams, for example, to just being in an environment that has every learning resource that needs to be there. It's not given for everyone. It's only given for a certain amount of people. It's not given for everyone. We have all seen what virtual schooling has done to our kids, including myself. It's been a very tumultuous debate. As a matter of fact, the Ontario doctors just signed a letter politely asking Mr. Premier Doug Ford to keep the schools open instead of shutting them down, just like what happened in the spring break of 2020. And now it's perpetuating. The past is repeating. And I'm telling you, even though you just shut down the schools, the cases are not going to drop. Scientifically speaking, cases can't drop. It might flat, but as soon as you open the schools again and reopen the province, the cases are going to skyrocket again, especially considering that Omicron is a lot more transmissible variant. What we have to assess is how to battle this issue while continuing our daily lives. For example, distributing N95 grade masks to students and teachers, making an industry that specifically manufactures N95 masks so that's widely available throughout the general audience. It's been about 2.5 years since the beginning of the pandemic. Also, last but not least, I just wanted to mention the unfair advantage that a lot of people who are privileged, relatively on the more affluent side, gets. So, when a kid is struggling, it is practically impossible in a virtual environment to get a one-on-one support. For example, during the lunchtime, there's something called a math science clinic in my school where kids who are struggling go there and get a personal help from each and every teacher in the math science department. There's also in-person guidance counselor appointment where people and students can freely talk about their issues and vent. However, the switch to a virtual learning environment will not allow any of these learning supports. especially the personalized ones. And this creates a huge gap between the affluent class and the lower class, since the lower class won't be able to afford any kind of tutors or private schools that affluent kids go. Affluent kids, I've observed some of them, they have personalized tutors, as well as going to a private school that doesn't actually make a change to a virtual learning environment, but instead keep on pursuing the in-person model. And that's actually the case in a lot of affluent families. So what I want to tell you here is, for economy's sake and for the future generations, and for your politics, I think it'll be the best for you to introspect and perhaps think, why am I driven by fear? It is normal, relatively speaking, but try to introspect and try to get to the stem of this whole issue. Try to view the whole pandemic situation from a holistic standpoint, not driven by your fear that comes from a lower consciousness. And I beg you to defer the decision you just made. Thank you. Have a good